the darkness.
The Boy Who Lost His Face. There's a summer camp on Satellite Island called Camp Orkila. Every summer, groups of children go out to the island for overnight trips. The campers stay there for a few nights and go hiking and explore the island. There are a lot of tall cliffs, and the trails run along the edge of the cliffs. One summer, many years ago, a group of campers went out on a trip to Satellite Island. One of the campers was a 7-year-old boy named Johnny. He was a bit of a loner and didn't mix well with the other kids. He liked to wander off on his own, and the counselors constantly had to keep an eye on him. On the first day, after they built camp, the counselors took the kids for a long hike on the trails around the perimeter of the island. Halfway through the hike, Johnny wandered off from the group and nobody could find him. They doubled back and searched the trail, but there was no sign of him. The sun was setting, and the counselors had to take the kids back to camp before it got dark. Later that night, the counselors were about to go to bed when they saw Johnny come walking down from the trails. They were relieved that they weren't going to have to report a missing child, but they were also angry that he had ignored their warnings and wandered off from the group. The next day, as punishment, Johnny wasn't allowed to leave the campsite. He had to stay behind while the others went to explore the island. On the third day, Johnny begged to be allowed to go hiking again and explore the rest of the island. The counselors reluctantly decided to let him go with them again on the hike, but they warned him not to wander off on his own again. However, while the kids were exploring the inner part of the island, Johnny disappeared. Again. The counselors searched for him, but the island is quite large, and they weren't able to find him. Eventually, the sun began to set, and they were worried that if they stayed out after dark, they might run the risk of getting lost themselves. So the counselors had to take the other kids and make their way back to the campsite, leaving Johnny alone in the woods. Again. They all assumed Johnny would come back on his own again. But that night, as they were going to bed, there was still no sign of Johnny. When they woke up in the morning, the wayward boy was still missing, so the counselors organized a search party. They searched the woods and the trails, but they couldn't find him anywhere. They combed every inch of the island, shaking trees, looking in caves, and peering into crevices, but they still couldn't find any trace of him. One of the counselors was walking along the trail that led along the cliffs when he happened to peer over the edge. All of a sudden, he spotted something in the water that sent a chill down his spine. It looked like a bundle of clothes being pushed by the tide up and down along the rocks at the base of the cliffs. The other counselors piled into a small boat and rowed out to the location. As they got closer, they could see that it was the body of a young boy, floating face down in the water. They recognized his clothes. It was Johnny. One counselor reached out and grabbed the boy by the scruff of the neck. As he tried to pull the body onto the boat, the small corpse flipped over, and the counselor let out a horrified scream. Everybody on the boat saw Johnny's face, or what was left of it. The grisly sight made them vomit over the side. Johnny's face was gone, scraped off by the jagged rocks at the base of the cliff. There was nothing left but torn up flesh and a pair of eyes. Cold, dead eyes, wide open and staring back at them. They had to call the Coast Guard to come take the body. Johnny's parents were overcome with grief. Ever since then, they say the ghost of Johnny haunts Satellite Island. They call him Johnny No Face. If you're on the island at night, it is said that you can see his eyes, just a pair of cold, dead eyes, staring back at you from the trees, silently watching you. They say if you wander off into the woods alone, you may come across a young boy with brown hair standing with his back to you. If you see him, Whatever you do, don't speak to him. If you talk to him, they say he will turn around and rip off your face.